Hello and welcome to the Ravensburger Games YouTube channel. My name is Sam, and if you're a fan of strategy, competition, and great game nights, you are in for a treat because today we are going to be discussing our top 5 competitive games. From take-that style games to brain-bending puzzles, these games are sure to get your competitive juices flowing and make your game nights completely memorable. Now, let's start with something a little light in rules, but very foul indeed. Oh My Pigeons is a ridiculous game of spicy card play where 2 through 5 players will attempt to outwit, outplay, and outflick their friends, and the goal of the game is to get 9 pigeons onto your bench. Seems simple enough, right? However, the heart of the game is in how you actually play your cards. There are going to be many differing abilities and these cards can give you. Most involve stealing or gaining pigeons. Now you may be trying to find 2 of these lever cards to gain 4 pigeons from the flock, for example, or you may feel more charitable by gaining 2 pigeons and giving 1 pigeon to another player. But the most fun and chaotic card is Oh My Pigeons. Yes, like the name of the game. This will actually allow you to potentially flick a die and remove all of the pigeons that were knocked off of the bench. Now, if you want to get extremely good at something totally random, this may be the perfect thing because it is much harder than it sounds and would be so funny to pull out some hidden dice flicking skill at family game night. Oh My Pigeons is a wild, rambunctious time, one that may make one player come out to be quite the villain. And speaking of villains, we have Disney Villainous. Now, in Disney Villainous, 2 through 6 players will be taking on the role of a villain and must change the age-old tale in their favor. Captain Hook must defeat Peter Pan at the Jolly Roger, Maleficent wants to curse the entire realm, Ursula is looking to get the trident and the crown at her lair, and Prince John just wants to make that precious, precious gold. Now, in this asymmetrical card game, you will be moving your villain to different locations from your film to access actions. You will actually be gaining power, playing helpful minions and items, or thwarting your opponent's realm from heroes from their story. You will actually be able to harness strategies unique to your villain's card deck to hopefully be the first to achieve your objective and win the game. Now, like I briefly mentioned, Disney Villainous is an asymmetrical card game. What that actually means is that everyone has a completely different way of playing and a different goal to win the game. This is rewarding as players can get very comfortable with certain villains and grow to become great at actually playing them. We have actually released many games in the Disney Villainous lineup, but I recommend starting with the Introduction to Evil box as it has the easiest 4 to start with and play. Now, weaving through these strategies can often feel like you are navigating your way through a maze. And speaking of mazes, we have Labyrinth? Okay, that might have been a stretch for a transition. Labyrinth is a 2 through 4 player game where you are competing to collect all of the treasures in a stack before you. Now, this is done by a puzzling tile shifting system. The game board has a set of tiles fixed solidly onto it, and the remaining tiles that make up the labyrinth slide in and out of the rows created by the tiles that are locked in place. Now, players will be taking turns placing a tile and sliding it into a row of the labyrinth, moving all of those tiles and pushing one out of the other side of the board. Now, this newly removed tile becomes the piece for the next player to add to the maze. Now, you are trying to create new paths that your pawn can move along to reach the treasures. Now, at first glance, Labyrinth can seem simple, and it is an excellent puzzle-solving game for all ages. However, it can also be played using more strategy and a more competitive approach. Asking questions like, do I want to place this tile here and allow me to gain my treasure? Or maybe place it here and make it very difficult for my opponent to collect theirs? Essentially, the game is a race to collect treasure. However, this next game is a literal race to collect treasure. The Quest for El Dorado is a 2 through 4 deck building game where you are making your way through a jungle attempting to reach the legendary city of gold. Now, you will start the game with a deck of cards called an expedition. It is made up of 1 sailor, 3 explorers, and 4 travelers, and playing these will allow you to move your pieces through matching terrain types on the board. The cards you do not use for movement can then be used to purchase more cards to add to your deck. You can add cards like Adventurers, allowing you to easily get through all terrain types, or maybe Pioneers, who can get you through thick forests very quickly. Or you could even acquire a Cartographer, allowing you to draw cards from your discard pile. Now the choice of do I race or do I buy more cards is where a lot of the game's kind of core struggle comes into play. Mastering that balance is a huge aspect as to why Quest for El Dorado is so much fun. Now, finding the hidden city of El Dorado is very satisfying for sure, but finding Mr. X is also quite satisfying. Now, in Scotland Yard, one player is going to be taking on the role of Mr. X, and their job is to move from point to point around the map of London, taking taxis, buses, or subways. The rest of the players will actually be detectives. They will be moving around trying to catch Mr. X by being in the same space. But while the criminal's mode of transportation is nearly always known, his exact location is only known intermittently throughout the game. Now, I love Scotland Yard. It allows one player to really get into the minds of the rest. Its competitive nature only strengthens as the game goes on and the detectives are running out of time. Now, when approaching Scotland Yard, it is always fun to see someone own playing against the table as Mr. X. The one versus many aspect creates such rich moments of laughter and yelling around the table. But hey, I'm hoping that this list allowed you to find some new games to try out for your next game night. That is all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye.